We do this every week. It's time to talk business, small business specifically, and startups, how to start one, how to run one, how to make some money out of it, and more importantly, how to stay happy while you're doing it. So there gets to be an exciting and a bit of a scary point in business where you realize you can't do everything yourself. You need to clone yourself, option A, or hire someone, option B. Today, we're talking with business and life coach George Helou today about finding that special someone, a new staff member. G'day, George. And Kat's with us as well.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Right. So I'm counting on you guys to be able to put a sentence together because I've lost the ability. So let me start with, what are some key indicators that you need to hire someone?
You're working long hours and you never catch up, and clients are starting to receive poor service from you. That's a good indicator.
Yeah, poor service. That's a really great indicator. When should you know, should you hire someone or should you outsource stuff?
That's a very good question, and I think that depends on quite a few variables. Outsourcing, depending on what it is usually a good option because you can scale up. You can start it at a lower level, and as you get busier and as you test them, you can use them more and more until you realize that the economies of scale make it worth hiring someone. So usually you can get away with outsourcing a lot, and sometimes keeping it outsourced can work for you.
When does it work for you? When do you say the benefits are paying off? When's that economies of scale? Where's the point?
Well, you have to look at what you're using them for, because if it's part-time, low-key, and it's cyclical, or you have busy times and not so busy times, you're best outsourcing rather than committing to hiring someone and then finding yourself struggling to get the value and keep them busy.
Great. Okay, that's really useful. Cyclical, that's going to stick in my head. Excellent. Now, okay, you've decided, okay, it's not cyclical, it's an ongoing need that I have for somebody. Say you're a small business. Say it's just you. There's a lot of people out there listening that are just small businesses. It's just them. So if you're going to hire someone, it's pretty important that you get the right person because, well, you've got nowhere to hide. How do you go about writing your list for the perfect person to help you?
Good point. I mean, you have to be very clear about what the role is. And often I have seen many business people make this classic mistake of almost wanting the wish list of everyone doing everything that you can or can't do, or when it pleases you or when it doesn't. And you end up creating a role that's so diverse. You're not really looking for someone who has specific strengths and skills in one area. You're trying to get a utility that does everything. And that's not easy to do, and that's not something that I would recommend. You really need to hone in on revealing the role within your business that now can fit someone that is out there that lives and breathes that role already. So yeah, that's really important to be clear about that. And then from there, you want to take a step out of your business and start listing all the things that you are doing, all the things that you feel you have to still do because of where your business is at and where your own priorities are at with your brand and your skills and what your clients depend on you. There's no room for someone else to be learning in the short run game. But then eventually you want to start to get to a stage where once you see a huge list, you start to have two columns, one that you'll continue to do and one that is starting to work for someone else to come in and do. And then you want to critique that list and make sure that you can reveal what that role is. Is it an admin role? Is it a reception/admin role? Is it a sales role? Once you know what the role is, then from there you can start building.
Okay, because that's often the other way round to most of us going, oh, I need an admin to do all of these things, and then think of the role first and then what they're doing. But think of what they need to do first. And then
think of the role.
Yeah, so that's
gold.
Yeah, that's a great way of thinking about it. Now, what about, so that's just the professional skills. What about the other side of it? What about personality? Because especially in a small business, it's really important that it needs to work well together.
Well, personality is a big one. I've been a part of many interviews have a long process to them because it's hard to find someone that's going to work. And they end up having, 3 interviews and profiling their personality, and there's so much involved, and they still get it wrong. And the reason for that is because, well, firstly, I think we should talk about this a little later, but it's about who you're looking for. And remember you said something at the beginning, you said, find that special person. Well, the bad news is you probably won't find the right or special person generally, and you should not be trying to. You should be looking for a level of attitude and a competency that is a solid minimum standard for with where you're at, and your focus should be on developing them. Developing staff is the key, and often people looking for the right person trips them up. So when you're looking for someone, often we like someone because they are like us, and that is a classic mistake. It really is, because you're not hiring someone because you like them, because if you do, then suddenly they're going to annoy you very quickly because they're not doing their job very well. And the honeymoon period ends within a week, So you definitely want to step out of your own personal preferences of how someone is in an interview and start looking for the criteria that will fit the role.
What about, rather than their personality, what about how they work? Because lots of people work differently and have a different mindset. It's not necessarily a competency, but it's the way they see the world. They're like, they look at the minutiae, or they look at the big picture, or they get things done, or, how do you find that person, and how do you know that's the right person to work with you?
Yeah. Well, once you know what your role is and you know what value system helps support being in that role, then you definitely want to be looking for what philosophy drives them. And if you want to extend beyond that, you want to go into their own competencies, like around their time management, how they manage their time, but also how they personally think the role should be carried out. Like I would prepare questions and run hypothetical situations that would help expose how they see one should act under pressure, with difficult clients, in a tight deadline situation. Like you really want to test how they come at those things, because that will reveal their attitude, their character, and also their personality.
Great. Okay. So, you have to kind of change the whole way you're looking at this hiring situation.
Yes.
Okay. We need to put the cart before the horse. A little? Maybe that's just the way I look at it. Okay. Just backwards.
Well, there's nothing for the horse to pull if the cart isn't working.
Oh, well, look at that. We're going to take that Brer Rabbit tail and twist it on its head. Fantastic.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I think we might head over to some music, and we're going to come back. I've got a couple of questions that came through on our Facebook page about hiring. So let's have a little bit of music, and then we'll come back to George Helou and Kat Paz talking about taking care of business and hiring staff. So keep it locked. You're tuned into The Mag with Jane and Kat and George. Some people who've asked questions on the Facebook page.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, Jane Kassab, hi if she's listening, she's asked, what are some key questions to ask during the initial interview?
Well, this does depend on the role. I would have prepared questions once you know what that role is, and those questions could start warm, like just gentle questions around how long have you been looking, why are you in this industry? Do you like this type of work? Just start good conversation, because often just the way they explain things is really helping you understand what kind of a person they are. And then from there, you really want to get into competency questions, like if you're in this situation and this happened, what would you do? And really get them to explain a lot of things with questions like that, so that you really do know they think for themselves, they are problem solvers. Because when you're hiring someone, the last thing you want is to find yourself micromanaging everything.
Yeah, I like the way that it's not just about the content of the answer, but how they answer it. That's great advice. Another question from Kimberly Bentley. Hi, Kimberly.
Kim. I know Kim.
So saying that often staff will present themselves well during an interview and they're great during probation period, fantastic. And then as soon as that 3 months is over, then it all starts to slide.
That's a great question.
You've had this experience,
Very
Kat?
common.
Yeah.
Very common.
Tell us, George, how do we fix this?
Well, it's very interesting because you get both issues. When you're in an interview, you get people who present really well, can sizzle very well in the interview. Other people could be nervous, but they're more than capable. So you've got the interview is very limiting in a sense of it doesn't automatically reveal whether someone's going to be great. But that whole 3-month thing, that's normal for humans to be driven by the fear of, consequence. And obviously there's a genuine consequence in a 3-month probation period. But you've got to ask yourself the question, what is it about crossing out of the 3 months and how you manage that staff member that would maintain accountability? Because you see, the accountability is automatically given to you in 3 months, but it's your responsibility now to maintain it from then on end in how you engage them so that the moment they start to slacken off, you're immediately addressing it in a professional, balanced way rather than waiting, and then being disillusioned and then managing it badly because you're fed up.
So just to explore that, because that's a good point. They're hungry in the beginning. They hit the ground running, and they're like, they're filling a hole. And yes, there is that fear of the probation. So almost are you kind of saying maybe people should not create expectations around the probationary period and instead not really say, congratulations, you're full-time, because then that creates this comfort, this safety, but maybe saying, see you in a month for another review.
That's a good point. I think that we should be having very good communication throughout the probationary period around where they're at, how they're going, what else needs to be done, and praising them, like genuine specific praise and very genuine specific criticism gives them an understanding of what's expected of them and what's appreciated so that they've got momentum after the probation to keep going.
Yeah, that's a great point, because normally it's like, your probation's finished, that's it. Nobody talks to you before it. They only talk to you in probation. And then they don't. It. Yeah, they don't talk to you ever after again. So more it's a management style, which is great. Now, Kat, you were mentioning before that you've had experience of hiring the wrong person, hiring someone that you just got along with. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I have hired people I hired one that was really good at ticking the box and getting the skills done. And then I hired someone who was like me, very, talkative, laughable, great office environment.
We know where this is going.
I know. I've done everything that you're saying I shouldn't have done. But even in the interview, I never asked them, how long are you looking? Why are you in this industry? I really, I never asked that. And sometimes people are in certain situations due to personal experiences. So, yeah, I wasn't too good at it. And those two I shouldn't have hired. So one was the workhorse, but then when I wasn't there, wouldn't know what to do when the phone rang. Sometimes wouldn't even pick it up.
Oh dear.
Recently one of my clients actually hired someone and she panicked. She thought this is a disaster. I quickly looked at the fact that she wasn't given her a structured to-do list in the day. The moment she'd done that, everything changed and she became a superstar.
Oh, wow. Okay, now you've got all of your hiring needs answered here on Taking Care of Business. Thanks so much for coming in, George and Kat. Yay. So we've talked about hiring. Next time when George is in, we're going to be talking about firing. It's the other end
that
of the
would
spectrum.
be great.
Yeah, everyone's going, yeah, you're fired.
I'll be here for that.
Thank you very much for popping in and having a chat.